Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So, this past weekend of boxing was a really eventful weekend. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia. That whole card was phenomenal. It was really surprising to see that the opening three fights for with Demetrius Andre versus Nicholson, Rashidi Ellis versus Romain Villa, and Jerome Boots Ennis versus Karen Chukajan were all like surprisingly interesting fights. And the main event itself, Davis versus Garcia, was a really competitive fight up until the stoppage in the ninth round. And we'll talk more about that as well, man. Shout out to Tank Davis. Phenomenal fighter. I told y'all, man, that dude is the complete fighter. He can do it all. He can make adjustments. And you seen what happened when he turned that heat up on him, you know what I'm saying, and hit him with that blinder. You feel me? Demetrius Andre put on a really good performance. We'll talk more about that as well. Demetrius Andre really came out and showed athleticism, hand speed, showed some pop in his punches, showed boxing ability. Demetrius Andre, he looked good at this age, man. He looked like he in shape, he ready, he focused. And Rashidi Ellis, which is what we want to talk about particularly in this video, he looked good as well, for most of the fight. Romain Villa showed me something. Jerome Boots Ennis, he looked like he was in great shape, never sat down in between rounds, going to the corner, hand speed, athleticism, all that was there. But Chukajan really was surprising. Y'all saw my breakdown for the post-fight reaction on that. But Rashidi Ellis, man, Rashidi Ellis ended up, he was the only one out of, all the guys that were supposed to be showcasing that night. He was the only one that didn't get the victory. And it was a really, I would say that the every round was interesting because Romain Villa was 25-1 with 24 knockouts. And when you have a guy like that who is obviously and clearly a puncher, I mean, he was looking for nothing else but to land that perfect shot. If you go back and watch the fight, he was applying pressure on Rashidi Ellis, but Rashidi Ellis was doing such a phenomenal job of boxing, moving, keeping a jab in his face. You throwing flurries and combinations when he needed to get V up off of him. Every now and then he would stand his ground, and I didn't think he did that enough, which is probably why he ran out of gas at the end and got caught. But we gonna dive into that. But the fight was interesting every round, even though I had Rashidi Ellis winning most of the early rounds, at least the first six. In between, you can say in between the first 7 to 8 rounds that there might have been a swing round here or two. You know what I'm saying? Just because Romain Villa did kind of corner Rashidi Ellis every now and then and land some shots on the shoulders, on the arms, kind of push the action forward. He landed a couple of decent shots in between those rounds. But for the most part, I had Rashidi Ellis winning like the first 6, 7, 8 rounds. He was boxing beautifully. He was really, sticking and moving, using his feet, not staying in one place at the same for too long. I thought he could have stood his ground a little bit more, got his shit off a little bit more, and then, just to kind of make Villa respect him. I thought if he could have kept that up through 12 rounds, he would have gotten a victory. You know what I'm saying? But you got to look at the fact that he hasn't had a lot of like fight night ring time in 2022. I think he only had like 3 rounds in the whole year. He was getting dudes out of there early. You dig what I'm saying? And that's really no excuse because you got to stay in shape year round. You got to be focused. and you got to make sure that even if you're not having these long 12-round fights on fight night, you need to be sparring 15 and 16 rounds so your energy can be up there. So that way, you know, moving for 12 rounds, you need to be working on stuff like that, especially knowing you're about to fight a puncher who has such a high knockout percentage like that. So I thought Rashidi Ellis did a wonderful job for the most part of the fight, but ultimately, with the puncher Villa being in excellent shape, let's talk about the shape that Villa was in. For him to be able to accomplish what he did, bro, it showed you he was in phenomenal shape, because he wasn't really throwing a whole lot of shots. He was doing a good job of conserving his energy and only throwing at the right time, only throwing meaningful shots. And, you know, he was able to wait Rashidi Ellis out. You know, so when Rashidi Ellis was tired late in the fight from doing all that moving, Romain Villa still had a lot of energy, a lot of strength, a lot of power in his shots. And he waited for the perfect opportunities to land those shots. And I thought he started to come on in the second half of the fight. Like around, you know, round 7, round 8, round 9, that's when he really started to pick it up. But even then, going into the 12th round, you know, I had Rashidi Ellis up comfortable on the scorecards. And Rashidi Ellis' trainer told him, like, look, hey, don't give him the fight. Going into the 12th, he told him, look, bro, just don't give him the fight. You got it. You got it right now. You up. Just don't give him the fight. Even Romain Villa's corner told him, you need a knockout to win. You need a knockout to win, which he did not get. He got 2 knockdowns, but he did not get the knockout. And I thought Rashidi Ellis should have won that fight. I thought it should have, at the very least, it should have been a draw. But if you was going to get that fight to anybody, I feel like you should have gave that fight to the guy who dominated the majority of the rounds, which was Rashidi Ellis. You know what I'm saying? Rashidi Ellis showed me something in that fight. Even with a loss, he showed me that he got dogged when he ran out of gas, and he didn't have no other choice but to sit down on his punches and fight this guy and trade punches with him, which is something that you can tell throughout the entire fight. That's something that he didn't want to do, because you don't trade shots with a guy that's a puncher like that. This dude Villa kind of remind me of Marcos Maidana a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know, a heavy hands, and was able to carry his power throughout 12 rounds. You know what I'm saying? And was roughhousing, a lot of pressure. He remind me a lot of Marcos Maidana. And that's a guy you don't just trade shots with. You feel me? And Rashidi Ellis, I thought they had the right idea, outboxing and moving a lot, but he just ran out of gas. If you're going to have a fight like that versus a guy who's constantly coming forward, you got to be able to sustain that over 12 rounds. So you got to be in phenomenal shape, and your conditioning got to be crazy. And we saw that Rashidi Ellis, he ran out of gas. I started seeing him slow down around round 9, round 10, round 11. He just slowing down. I'm like, man, he getting more stationary and more stationary. And and once he started to get more stationary, Villa became more dangerous. So I want to give credit to Villa for his conditioning, his ability to pick his shots, to land very meaningful shots. But also I want to give kudos to Rashidi Ellis as well, because up into those knockdowns, he was looking amazing. Hand speed, he was boxing beautifully. So to answer the question in the title, you know, yeah, he got upset on paper. Villa won. It was a majority decision. One judge had it a draw. But, you know, it depends on what these judges be looking for. Sometimes they value the coming forward more than the guy who's actually landing the effective shots and picking the shots and landing the cleaner, crisper punches. You know, but again, Villa did start to turn it up on the second half of the fight, and then he got those 2 knockdowns at the end of the fight. So I understand how a judge can be like, man, that's significant. But I think Rashidi Ellis should have won that fight, or it should have been a draw. But, you know, did Rashidi Ellis really lose? I think Rashidi, just like his coach said, don't give him the fight. I think that's exactly what Rashidi Ellis did. He gave him the fight. You know what I'm saying? He gave him the fight. This not taking nothing away from Villa, but Rashidi Ellis was clearly the more skilled guy, had the more ability in the ring. He just couldn't sustain that style of fighting for 12 rounds. He ended up getting caught. So I think he has nothing to, hang his head about. I think he should refocus, come back, and remember the video that I posted, Rashidi Ellis and Boots Ennis, they should fight next. Now, I said if they both win their fights in impressive fashion, then that's a clear setup for the next fight. However, with the way Rashidi Ellis lost and the way Boots Ennis performed, in a clear victory for Boots Ennis, but as I said, Boots Ennis showed that he still got a whole lot of work to do. I think for Boots, a guy like Rashidi is another good opponent with really good movement. He got hand speed, got counter punching ability. I think that'll be a good matchup for Boots. Somebody who could, help him work on the ability to cut off the ring. That's a great matchup for Boots. It's a dangerous match because I think Rashidi Ellis is still dangerous for Boots Ennis. For Rashidi Ellis, he either has the opportunity to rematch Villa. I think that's a good idea to go ahead and get him out the way, and show everybody that you are the better fighter. So that might be the course of action for Rashidi Ellis. But I wouldn't mind if he went out the Boots. You know what I'm saying? And Jerron Boots Ennis, like I said, he got some things that he need to work on. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. What do y'all think is next for Rashidi Ellis? Should he go after Boots? Or should he go ahead and get the rematch with Villa and try to get his bike back? You dig what I'm saying? And also, let me know down in the comments, do you think Rashidi Ellis was robbed? Do you think that was the right decision? Did Villa do enough at the end of the fight to for him to be credited with the victory, rightfully? So, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Contender Regime Boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.